Welcome back, viewers at home. You're joining an amazing conversation between myself and Wendy Phumela Mbele, who is a multifaceted professional with a deep understanding of human emotions, especially the process of grieving. Drawing from her experience as a grief coach, speaker, and personal development facilitator, she has guided countless individuals through their most difficult times. Now, her recent work, My Grief Journal, provides a compassionate space for readers to reflect on their loss, process their emotions, and find comfort. In this interview, we will explore Wendy's inspirations and the insight she offers to those in mourning. Wendy, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us here on Prime Live.
Thank you very much for having me. I am excited for this conversation. I know it's weird to say I'm excited speaking about grief, but I am definitely, because it is a topic near to my heart, and all of us go through an experience with grief, and we don't talk about it enough. So yeah, I appreciate the opportunity you guys are giving me to share.
Now, for someone who is, struggling to understand so many things around grief, how would you best describe grief? And is there a specific way or stepping stones to finding healing?
Thank you for that question. So I've had to, as I was trying to work through my own experiences with grief, I had to define what grief looked like. So if you put it on Google, you'll get different meanings because it means so many different things. But for me, the word that resonated, a single word that described it, was a journey. That grief is a journey. It's not a one-time event as we would like to think it is. And its effect is felt long after the funeral and the support initially you get in that first couple of weeks where you're busy planning a funeral, you're running around trying to figure out all of the logistics. So the one word that I think it simplifies it, it's a journey. And this journey will look different with every stop. And if you were to imagine yourself in a train, it goes and stops at different stations. You see different sceneries and you get involved in different emotions. And so that journey, you might feel joy and you don't understand how can you be happy in this moment. And at the same time, the next minute you feel crushed and overwhelmed with sadness. Yeah. So it's just understanding it for yourself and making it as personal, as unique as you are, and not be worried about what the world says grief is and how long the process should take. After 2 weeks, you should be okay, move on, and all of those things. Don't feel that. Take it as a journey, like your life's journey that's unique to you and your own experiences.
Now, speaking on the fact that grief is quite, different and personal to every individual, I want to know from you, what really inspired you to now, come up with My Grief Journal? What specific moment drew you to now drafting such a beautiful piece?
Thank you for that question. Look, I don't know if we'll call it inspiration or just trying to find purpose to the pain. So my first experience with loss, I was a young girl. Seeing a funeral in my home was for my grandfather. So 1 minute, grandfather was not well. The parents take him to hospital. Next minute, he has passed on. But what that meant for us as children was we got these news, and then the funeral arrangements ensue. Next thing you know, we are all shaving our heads. And we don't understand why as the grandchildren in the family. So all of us had to go bald-headed to school. So the experience of that loss is, oh my God, now I'm getting bullied and ridiculed by my peers because I look like a boy with my shaped, weird head. So that first grief was associated with a level of trauma and not understanding what is going on because the parents were not equipped to talk to us about the journey. So when someone passes on, this is what's going to happen. And then the next weird thing is, in the Eastern Cape, we bury people in the backyard almost because we have a garden. And the cemetery, the family cemetery, is within walking distance. So imagine being a 9 to 10-year-old that's seeing this thing for the first time. How do you make sense of this? What is this change? So it's things like that we don't think about. Only when you become an adult and go through a different level of grief that you feel a different experience. And then, so for me, in my late 20s, I then lost a child. And that was a different experience as well, because for the first time, the grief was not a friend, a relative, but it was personal. It was something that was part of my journey, an experience I was looking forward to for 9 months, being pregnant and all of that, and then getting to a certain point of life where you no longer are able to show the results of that pregnancy, because that's what we look forward to. So the end result is we'll have a baby at the end of this journey. And when you come to that end of the journey and you don't have a baby, you deal with a lot of emotions. And I wasn't equipped for that. So it's little things like that. And each of those journeys look unique and different in how they impact you. And I think the last one that sparked the debate and conversation around grief and needing to make it a discussion that we can have freely with our children is I lost my mom and brother in 2021. So that was weeks apart. We were planning and arranging for a funeral on the 29th of July for my mom, only to take my brother to hospital the Thursday of that same week. And as we bury mom, my only brother is in hospital on a ventilator. And so it's trying to understand and navigate, how does one process the one emotion with possibly the anticipation of the one in hospital resulting in a death. Yeah. So I dug a little bit deeper in trying to understand all of the emotions that came with it, the anxiety, the annoyedness of how could this be happening. And we're busy grieving and making sense of one loss, but now we're busy trying to pray and intercede for one person who's in hospital. So it's fully loaded in terms of emotions, and that's where most of us get lost, because we then don't have people to talk to who can carry our questions, who can help us understand, why is this happening? Why me? Why can I count 7 losses before the age of 40, before I can fully feel like an adult myself? Why is this my journey? So it's in that why, the seeking of the why, where I felt at peace in exploring it and not shy away from the ugly emotions that I was feeling, and sometimes just feeling stuck and not knowing what to do or where to go, besides just take a deep breath, drink my water, and go to sleep, because my brain can't comprehend. And as you navigate all of these different journeys, you find you're still now grieving the other loss, the one that happened years ago, because your brain is now starting to understand, oh, it's not just that event that happened, but it's the life that I will never see graduate, go to matric dance, go through a wedding. So it's those different things that, as you're trying to process one loss, they pop up in your brain. You're like, I don't know who am I grieving, because I feel like all of them are coming at me. And the one moment I'm sad about my mother, and the next moment I'm sad about my baby, because her peers are going into high school. Their parents are having the period discussion with them for the first time. So now you're grieving conversations that you will never have, the guidance that you will never get to pass on to a daughter if you've lost a child. And some people lose parents much younger than what I did. So immediately, while I'm grieving my own pain, I feel for the people who lost their parents younger, who were not adults at their stage of that loss. How did they navigate that? How do you even begin to plan a funeral for a parent when you are the eldest in the family and you are only 17? So those are the questions that really bothered me. And I felt like we needed to have conversations, because there are resources and books, but we're not talking. We're not making it easy for people to ask these questions, and we're not making it easy for people to feel like it's normal. It is normal to have these questions, and it's normal to have these feelings. So the journal is that piece of resource where we use it as a tool to encourage that conversation. If you're not brave enough yet to voice it out, then you can put your words in the pages, put your hard questions in the pages, and you can seek support if you feel, okay, now I need a conversation with someone. I need someone who's been through my journey to kind of explain to me, is it normal to feel this way? And so it allows you to do that when you first use your journal as your outlet for the grief. And then as you work through the different stages that one feels when they are grieving, you start to make sense of it for yourself and not using only other people's experience and their words to express your feelings. Yeah.
Wendy, first of all, condolences for your losses, but just to speak on your My Grief Journal, I want to know, in its completion, what did it offer you? And also to, as you mentioned earlier on, there are, books and things or resources around, grieving. I want to know from you, this book particularly, what unique perspective does it offer its readers?
I think the one thing that I wanted people to be able to take away is that be compassionate to yourself, because it's a complicated journey. And you need to have empathy and be gentle and kind to yourself, because there's a lot of noise from the people around us who have had similar losses, but who don't necessarily give you the space to make sense of your loss, because your loss is unique to you. The person you lost was your mother, your child first. So the relationship you have with that person is unique to you. There's no outsider that can tell you, be strong, and you immediately feel strong. There's no one who can tell you to stop crying and you surrender to what you're feeling because they said so. And if you do that, we lose the opportunity to process these feelings so that we can be functional human beings on the other side of this grief. So that's the main takeaway that I would like to people to take from it, but also that this is an opportunity for you to rewrite your story. This is your journey. No one else can articulate it the way that you feel it. So the journal being part of the support tools that we're currently putting out is so that you first write your own story before you take on other people's stories, because other people's stories will encourage you or break you depending on where you are. So the first thing is examine you. There is a page on the grief where we have different feelings that one can identify. Like, what is my response to what I'm feeling today? Am I sad? Am I angry? And then you work your way through that. If you are you angry because you feel like you missed out on something with this person? Or you're angry because you're feeling guilty and you don't deserve to put yourself in that situation, because when you feel guilty about a loss, you're taking too much responsibility for something you have no control over. Human beings will go home when the time comes, and we need to be at peace with that. It's a conversation that we don't need to fear. And the more we talk about it, the more we release everyone to plan and prepare themselves that for the eventuality that we will lose, while we're still having fun and laughing and the conversation is easy. When it's hard is when an auntie will come and bully you to tell you that this is how you're going to bury your mother, and you have no say. And years later, you are in therapy, angry at the entire family because they didn't allow you to have a voice to say your goodbye the way that you felt you needed to process your grief and send off your loved one. So it's that for me. It's holding space for you to make sense of your journey of grief, but also sharing the tips and the different stages that you might expect, so that you can process accordingly. You know that depression will probably be part of the journey. So how do you now get ahead of it for your own mental health, for you to be able to function at work, for you not to feel overwhelmed and then end up resigning from work, losing income, and then spiraling down, all because you didn't know what emotions are part of the grief journey and what to expect. So this is a tool. And on the other side of it, we have a support group that one can reach out and join. It's optional. So that's just to keep you in check if you need that additional somebody to check in on you. How are you doing today? How are you feeling today? And process that with someone. So I find it's a lot more cheaper than therapy to socialize these experiences, right? Because therapy is expensive. And because it's expensive, most people don't even try to seek the kind of help that they need. A lot of people in my family felt like they were strong enough they will cope. And 2-3 years on, from the outside looking in, we see the impact that we were never okay. But we just pretended to be okay for the sake of the people that needed to see us being strong.
Yeah.
So the main thing is just that. It's just it's an opportunity for you to be vulnerable with yourself, and you keep that to yourself. But if you're feeling brave, like the steps that now I'm taking is making it public, all of these feelings and questions and things that were confusing, I want people to know, and I would like to get other people's perspectives so that we make it easy for the sake of our kids, because we're now parents and we will eventually pass. Are we preparing them for these hard conversations?
You know, Wendy, if you were to bring out the conversation of death in a reunion, it's more like you're wishing upon their death. But seeing that your journal also includes the likes of quotes, scriptures, and poems, I want to know from you, how did you choose these elements and how do you hope they will resonate with readers? And most importantly, since I'm seeing most of your responses are more from the person who's mourning, how do we then create that healthy support system for someone who is in grief?
Yeah, so thank you very much for that question. So it's things that have helped me on my journey. So I love music, and music has kind of helped to find the words sometimes when I don't have the words that I would like to express. So I found that when my journey started with journaling, as I was journaling, the big questions, the things that confused me, the things that irritated me, people said, it's like, instead of being angry at people for their lack of knowledge and understanding of what my journey is, let me explore that. So I found music would help me kind of break down some of the intense emotions. So playing a fun song, dancing, releasing the tension, that helped me to kind of, work out the tension so that I'm not crying for 7 days a week, because that's quickly into depression, and then it's harder to dig yourself out of that.
Yeah.
And so also one of the things that I was avoiding by any means necessary was not to go on any new medication during my grief process, because my GP that I had gone to prescribed all sorts of tranquilizers so that I don't deal or feel the hardness of what I'm going through. And my resistance to that was, look, I know depression and I know every tablet has side effects.
Yeah.
So I would rather not take the medication, respect their opinion as doctors, but I can't take medication for a situation that I know it's caused by an impact that happened just now. So I'm now making permanent decisions to take antidepressants that I will have to take for the rest of my life. But I can identify the event that has led me to this, because I write down what I feel. I'm in touch with my emotions. I know I'm generally a happy, excitable person. It doesn't take much to get a laugh out of me. So I know my personality. So when I'm going to go into that space and surrender to, here's depression meds, you are now on chronic medication because, so I needed to identify that. So journaling for me was that outlet where it's like, are these feeling persistent? If they are not, if on a good day I am able to step outside and still smile and have a good laugh, then I am not depressed. So you're able to counter all of the emotions. If you're feeling angry, you're able to identify, I am angry because I would be having dinner with this person. I would be doing this today. Today is their birthday. So you're able to travel through your brain because you're fully functional. You're not overly medicated not to feel. So the journaling is that. It's a form of therapy, and it's also something that you can do on any random book. You don't have to start with an expensive journal from one beautiful school or one beautiful, shops, bookshops. You can use your own hardcover, 172 pages. You just write out what you're feeling. This helps you to identify your anger, your sadness, and work through them, because you will know that today I'm feeling miserable, I'm disappointed. You can articulate these words to yourself, and then you're able to look, okay, so the understanding is there's 5 stages to grief. One is feeling denial. you're refusing to accept that this has happened. And then anger is also part of that, those stages. So the anger you're feeling is not foreign or it's not unnatural. And then, there'll be stages where you feel like, if I could trade places. So that's the bargaining. It's like, if that life could have gotten an opportunity to grow and become an adult, I would have taken anything for it to be me. So we do that as parents, we bargain. And then depression will be the next one, because reality is setting in and you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling powerless. So it's your own emotions, it's your own brain that's working against you. The negativity is all that you're sitting in. So if you are aware of this, you are able to counter these emotions. So that's really what we would intend to do with this journal, that these little resources that you're going to encounter on the different pages will give you a perspective that you might not have had. And then one of the last steps is acceptance. So I feel like that one, we're still a long way from it, even though we know that the people that we've lost are not coming back, right? No one can deny it. We've lost them, we've buried them, we've seen them. But they still struggle with accepting, fully accepting. So that's where we are in the limbo of, we know that it's happened and there's nothing we can do to change it. But we have an awareness that we've worked through the hardest parts of our grief. We are now in between, and we're jumping between step 1 and step 2, or step 3 and step 4, because that's how we feel based on the triggers that we are going to encounter. So journaling is a very important starting point for anyone, because most of us are doing life alone. We don't have a support system. So the journal is for that. If it's a song that you like, you download the song and put it on repeat. You will find a song that heals you, a song that helps you to remember the person you've lost, but doesn't go as far as leading you to a deep depression, but an appreciation of the life that you had. So poetry, there's a lot of people who can articulate words far beyond what you can, especially when you're in pain and confused. So reading different poems from different people who've walked different journeys is an encouraging piece that you will find. And that helps to just take it easy on yourself and see that other people have gone through something similar and this is how they felt. And you're able to then take your journal and put your own feelings into your pages. And maybe one day that becomes a book or a song. There's a lot of songs that were inspired by loss. And people have gone on to make purpose of their pain and get paid. So it's really just how you digest it and how you outwork it, because everything that we go through is for a purpose. And it's not always to break us, but it's to teach us and mold us into a more compassionate human being, someone who can sympathize with others, even if the situation is not directly affecting you, but you can put yourself in other people's shoes. So that makes us a lot more gracious with people, because we look at them as like, we know that people are going through a lot. And sometimes when they behave a certain way, it's because they are hurting and they're not really able to express with their words what's going on between the brain and the emotion that they are trying to express. And we see that in our country, it presents itself in different ways. Sometimes it's in violent forms. And all of that is because we are broken and we are not allowing our healing to happen in the deep side of us. Because as much as healing and happiness are things that we aspire to be fully healed and fully happy, but both of those are inside jobs. No one can do it for you from outside. So if you are going to reach it, you're going to have to look deep within yourself and work towards healing yourself, work towards being happy, because no external factors will be able to bring you to that place. So it's just, for me, a journey of let's educate one another, let's hold space for people to express their grief. And if we are informed with what to expect, then we don't judge people when they are acting angry. We can remind them that this is part of the process. But let's dig deeper. What are we angry about? And once we identify those feelings, then they're able to manage themselves a little bit more better because they are informed.
Wendy, thank you so much for joining us this evening and just sharing some tools that we can try and incorporate into our lives, either it by offering support or just going through the motions of losing a loved one and how to process it. And rather than finding those, external substances that help us forget or numb the pain, but rather go through the pain and find purpose and hopefully pay. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Yes, finding purpose for our pain and putting it into whatever form that it looks like for you. For some people, it's art. Make it make sense for you. And if it eventually gets you paid, let's do that. Because there's no reason why we should be broken. We've gone through so much life experience. So we need to take our life experiences and put it into something beautiful that people can learn from and grow from. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is all ours. Viewers at home, that was Wendy Mbele, who is a grief coach, speaker, and personal development facilitator, sharing insight on how you should handle your grief and not let your grief handle you. That's where we close it off for now. Let's head over to an ad break. See you when we come back.